Welcome to the Protecting Your Nest podcast. Finding your purpose is something we all strive for. A few years ago, I was asked by one of my coaches a simple question. If I were to define my purpose, what would it be? After some reflection and realizing how easy and enjoyable teaching is for me, I decided that I wanted to help educate as many people as possible about the healing potential of achieving metabolic health and how carb restriction could be key for most of us in achieving that. And with that foundation, I have been able to educate many of my patients. And to be honest, I am still amazed at the results I've seen. This past week in clinic was one of those weeks when I celebrated one success after another. So today, I wanted to share one more success story with you so that you can realize the potential and the possibilities of not living on medicines for the rest of your life by simply using a low carb diet and the principles I share with my Protecting Your Mess podcast. Today's guest is Gwendolyn Butler. We'll call her Gwen. She is a wife and she has a husband of 11 years, and she is the mother of 4. And you won't believe it, she's a grandmother of 13. You just can't tell because of her young appearance. She's also a clinician herself. She's a medical assistant who graduated in the top of her class, and she now works for Advocate Aurora Healthcare in one of our walk-in clinics on Chicago's South Side, not far from where I work. Today, I wanted Gwen to share her journey with all of us so that more people who need a little inspiration, a little hope, can hear a story of healing. And with that, Gwen, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the Protecting Your Nest podcast.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I wanted to say that I was first diagnosed with diabetes back in 2010 at the age of 43, right before my 44th birthday. This is when I began to have symptoms of diabetic. And what those symptoms were, it included excessive thirst, um, increased urination, and I was working at a surgery center at the time. And when I went to work that day, I asked one of the nurses there if she could run a diabetes test on me. So she gave me a glucose tolerance test. And when the results came in, my levels were 457.
Hmm. That's
And
crazy.
yeah, that is crazy. And I was just in total shock because I discovered this late in life, you know? And so, and also then after that, one of the surgeons that I work with at the same facility, he suggested that I see an endocrinologist at the hospital that he worked at. And so, yeah, I go to see the doctor, and there it was confirmed that I was type 2 diabetic.
That must have been really scary for you. And I remember when I first met you, um, it was in February of 2021. And I remember when I met you, you told me, yeah, I've been diabetic for over 9 years or so. And because of the pandemic, you told me that you had been eating not the right way. You weren't really counting carbs at the time, and you just didn't seem to have a full grasp about what a healthy diet looks like. Um, and then you also told me that you were taking insulin, I think 25 units or so. And when I saw you, your blood pressure was elevated, and you were a smoker. And that's a lot of challenges that we, in my brain, that I'd like to see reversed. Now, the interesting thing is that your story is a very common story. I meet a lot of patients who have your history, and I have this 15, and if I'm lucky, a 30-minute appointment to share all the things that are running through my brain to help you and to give you a sense of the healing benefits of restricting carbs. And so you did something amazing in that you you listened to my lecture, my presentation, and you actually did some things to make it happen. So I'm always, as a physician, trying to figure out what do I need to say or do to kind of make sure people hear me and that they do the things that I'm encouraging, but I'm not sure what that magic is. So my question for you is, what was it for you that kind of drove you from, our conversation? What led to you saying, okay, I need to do something different?
Okay. So, to be honest, Dr. Hampton, at our initial visit together in February, I did not automatically change my habits. But what happened that really opened up my eyes and made me say, okay, I got to listen to my doctor and follow his recommendations. I hit my head at work, and I had a CAT scan done, and the injury from my head being hit didn't cause any damage to my brain. But I was told that I had a chronic disease of the brain. And I'm like, whoa. And I was told that I had ischemic microvascular disease. And that was the turning point for me. I said, okay, especially after I did the research on that disease. I'm like, okay, I have to listen to my doctor
Mm.
and do what he says, because it mentioned change in diet, and it also had the causes, which was hypertension, high
Mm-hmm.
cholesterol, smoking, diabetes, all of which was a part of my life.
Mm.
So yeah, that was what made me say, okay, I got to listen to Dr. Hampton, and I changed immediately. Everything stopped right there in that instance.
And with you being a clinician yourself, you probably better understand what this means. I remember my wife was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, unfortunately, and she understood in that moment what that meant. And I think it took that for you to really give you tangible evidence that there's something wrong. And I want to just mention that although smoking is, probably the second leading cause of preventable disease, it's been replaced by obesity now. It's important that people listening understand why I changed my name to Metabolic Health Doctor, right?
Yes,
And the reason why I call myself the Metabolic Health Doctor is because the things you mentioned, the blood pressure, the blood sugar, and the vessel disease, it's all the same disease. It's the same disease. Who'd have thought, right? And even dementia is, some people would call it type 3 diabetes. So even dementia, which is what happened, if you had not made this change, the potential that you would end up with dementia later in life was super high. The potential that you'd be at risk for a stroke, because those irritated arteries that are small vessels, that could lead to a transient ischemic attack or mini stroke, and ultimately the larger vessels can lead to a stroke.
yes,
So the good news is that rather it's dementia, cancer, I did say cancer. Cancer is the same disease. It's another metabolic disease that's from inflammation and hyperinsulinemia, too much insulin. All these things can be, in a lot of ways reversed, mitigated, prevented by making lifestyle changes. So everybody has that one thing that'll inspire them to hear that message. And I'm so happy on that day. I hate to say it, I'm happy you bumped your head.
so am I.
It's
To
crazy.
God be the glory.
That's right. Hopefully, we won't have to edit that out the podcast. But I really do believe that was a gift in some ways. So maybe someone up high was giving you a message. And I guess another thing that is the challenge of just making a change is hard enough. But then there's other challenges that you face when you embark on these lifestyle changes. So give me an idea of some of the bigger challenges that you faced over the last. In fact, let's say this first before we get to. Let's talk. Mention how long did it take you to reverse, because I started the podcast by saying you were on insulin and you're not on insulin. So tell my listeners how long it took you to get off insulin.
It took me about a month and a half. And after my head injury, you and I were emailing back and forth, and I was telling you about my progress and how my glucose levels were. And you said to me in your email, like, it appears that you have reversed your diabetes. And I'm like, really? And you suggested that I not take any more medicine. But my head went like, okay, I'll tell you what, Dr. Hampton, I'm going to take my pill tonight, and then I'll email you in the morning. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not going to take my pill, and I'm
That's
going to
right.
email you in the morning and let you know what my levels is. Okay. So yeah, I got up that morning, checked my levels, and my fasting blood sugar was 90.
That's
I
insane.
emailed you back, and you was like I said, stop the medications. So yeah,
Wow.
it took a month and a half.
You have to see yourself through a different lens, because you've been seeing yourself as this insulin dependent person for
Yes.
how many years were you on insulin?
11.
Now, I want people to pause for a moment. If you've been told you'll be on insulin for the rest of your life, and Gwen got off of insulin within a month or so, and I've heard other people who are in this space who teach the same thing say it can happen within a week. This is what's possible. I can't think of a medicine that will do that for you. So please let Gwen inspire you, because we want as many people on the planet who desire this to have the opportunity to not have to take medicine. So I really appreciate that. Now let's go back to the biggest challenge that you face during your journey. What's been a challenge for you?
I love sweets.
Mm.
So that was a huge challenge. But I thought about my brain.
Mm.
But most of all, I thought about my family.
Mm. Mm.
And I said, I have to live for them. I want to be around a long time.
Mm.
You know, I've seen that the 13 grandchildren. Hopefully, I can see great grandchildren. So, yeah, the sweets were a big challenge. But guess what? I learned how to make me a keto cheesecake.
Don't start.
So when I crave, I'm like, okay. And then I also, so basically, it's keto everything for me
Mm-hmm.
right now.
And
Ice cream,
mm-hmm.
all of that, and it tastes so good
I know.
till I was scared,
Mm.
and that made me like all the time check my sugars to make sure. And perfect. I love keto.
There's
Yeah,
a lot
so
of
that was my biggest challenge, the
yeah.
sweets.
There's a lot of options, and we want people to kind of transition from their high carb diet. An average American probably consumes 250 or more carbs a day. And when you reduce all of those carbs, and you're kind of addicted. I made a YouTube video how to prevent carbohydrate withdrawal. Some people call it keto flu, because we're addicted to those things. Keto flu, right? And so you lose magnesium and potassium and sodium when you're doing a low carb diet, because you tend to push those things into your body when you have too much insulin. Your kidneys retain salt when you are making too much insulin. And that's so a lot of times and it's a perfect example of how your 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 insulin, your too much insulin, too much starch can actually lead to blood pressure, because it's making you retain salt. So a lot of times we focus on salt, but if we get to the root cause, it's too much glucose leading to too much insulin, leading to too much salt retention. That's just one of many mechanisms that explain how this actually causes high blood pressure. So if we get to the root cause, instead of just restricting salt, we
Yes.
focus on, let's restrict the thing that led to this in the first place. And that's why this podcast and YouTube videos and other things are important, because a few nuggets, right? And if I can convince people that their diet is the key, then they'll be able to do a lot in terms of being able to help themselves. So it's really, it's been a journey. And speaking of journey, any surprises that you've experienced along your journey that you didn't expect to experience?
Um, let's see. What did I not expect to experience? Oh, the quick weight loss.
Mm,
And I was like, wow. Even my family's like, oh wow, oh okay, you're losing a lot fast. I'm like,
right.
okay. And also, I didn't expect for my blood sugar levels
Mm,
to be that was shocking to me, to
mm-hmm.
test my blood sugars 4 times a day, but I'm not doing it now. But when I was just totally amazed and shocked by the numbers. So yeah, that's been quite, yeah,
Like a,
pleasing actually.
yeah.
The whole journey. It's been pleasing.
Yeah, it's nice. What about you? You mentioned your family. How are they receiving the change? Has anybody been inspired by it? Because we love our families. Like I said, we want to be here for them. But has
Yeah,
anybody walked away saying, "My goodness, if she can do it, I can do it"? What's been going on with the family?
absolutely. Okay, just to say you part of the family now because that's like you're all I talk about. They can't wait to meet you.
Awesome. They will. They're going to meet me through this video and podcast for sure as well,
Okay.
and then maybe down the road. Absolutely.
Oh, I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, 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 it's okay, you're good. So just how this journey has impacted your family, just rather it's emotional, rather it's behavior,
Mhm.
how they perceive you or themselves.
Okay, yes. So my youngest son is overweight,
Mhm.
and I always try to tell him about losing weight and eating right. But now he wasn't listening to me then because how is she gonna tell me something? She ain't. So now that I'm on the path leading to the right way of living, he is just encouraged. We went grocery shopping one time, and I was gonna make keto chicken wraps. And when we got home, I prepared them, and he began to eat them, and he stopped suddenly, like, "Mama, are you sure this is healthy for me? It tastes too good." I'm like, "Yes, it's healthy for you." And then on Thanksgiving, I'm really known for my cheesecakes, but now I do the keto instead of those regular ones. And he
Cool.
was like, "Okay, Mama, make me one. I want to see how it tastes." So when he came over for Thanksgiving, he tasted it, and he was like, "Oh my God, this tastes like it. You sure it don't have real sugar in it?" I'm like, "No." So it had that impact on my son. So I'm glad about that. And also my sister, she was like, "You have encouraged me to lose weight. You have
Mm,
encouraged me to eat better." Because she has, hyperthyroids. And also her husband, he's excited every time I come to church. He's excited, like, "How you doing, sis? Is things still going well? How's Dr.
mhm,
Hampton?" I'm like, "He's good." But yeah, so it has encouraged it. And my sister is so happy that I
mm,
am living now.
mm. That's
And I
that's
thank you, Dr. Hampton, for helping me to live well because we all know life was not meant to be lived in the grave.
mm. And I know you're very spiritual, and you had in fact, on the one of the thumbnails will probably show the T-shirt you were wearing because we took a picture while we were, seeing each other celebrating. So um, this probably has had a tremendous effect on you, not only spiritually but emotionally. And some of my previous guests have found that a low carb diet helps them emotionally. Have you felt any of the benefits of low carb in terms of your emotions, how you deal with your day to day? Have you felt that mental aspect of it as well?
Absolutely. Because I have suffered from depression.
Mm, I don't think we talked about that
We
much.
did not, but
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I
Oh
suffered
Lord.
from depression.
Mm-hmm.
I was diagnosed back in 2012. That was during the time when I had the DKA,
Mm-hmm.
almost died. So yeah, I suffered from depression and some other mental diseases.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whew, but changing my lifestyle has freed up my mind
Mm.
on a whole bunch of mental areas. I'm not overthinking things. I'm not, how can I explain this? Mm. Oh, wow. I'm getting emotional. I'm sorry.
Mm-mm, it's okay. I I
I'm a better me.
ah,
I'm a better me. My mind, oh, wow. I can't put it in words, Dr. Hampton, mentally, what has happened to me. But it's positive.
I'm happy.
I have even tried to commit suicide.
In the past, you have.
I have been in a mental institution.
Get out of here. We didn't even get
Yes,
all of
we
that.
didn't get all of that, nope. But yeah, and then that's why I understood when I did the research on that ischemic microvascular disease, um, that it was messing with me mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was in the mental institution for a week
Mm.
because I tried to kill myself because of, yeah. So now I'm free.
Mm.
My thought pattern is more lighter, is more focused on the things that matter, and I look at things differently. I
Mm.
look at things different. I look at life, not things. I look at life differently now that I'm healed. Now that I am healed.
Wow. I didn't know this was going to turn into a clinical visit, and I really appreciate. And the funny thing about I listen to myself talk, and this is how I function in clinic. Even when serious things are being discussed, I still try to keep it light while trying to get to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter for this conversation, as we talk about mental health, is to let people know one of the best side effects of low carb keto is you regain that person that was on the inside. And I would have never known in a million years that you had spent any time anywhere dealing with mental illness or that moment, that trauma of that moment. And to know that the probability that that'll happen again is minimal, because when you have a up and down uh, blood glucose that will occur from a non-keto cheesecake, right? It will feel so good going down, right? And it may comfort you in that moment. But when it goes down, when that insulin is created and that number goes down, and you're vulnerable to not be in the best mood, or you have anxiety or depression, it's a good chance it's going to trigger it. And
Absolutely.
and I'm telling you right now, having a stable number, that 90 that you mentioned earlier, right? That is not likely to trigger it at all. And now that baby boy, I know you call him your baby, that baby boy.
Actually, I call him baby boy.
Hey, there you go. How did I know that? and and so what happens is when you're interacting with him, what's his name again?
His name is Damien.
Damien. Okay, when you're interacting with Damien, right? He's going to get the best version of mom. When he's having issues related to his life, he's going to get mom's clarity of thought when she's answering. Her mood's going to be in a good, stable place. So she's going to be in the mood to answer the question at all times. And I just love that. And I appreciate you being authentic in this moment, because again, these are things we didn't even talk about, and yet the benefits are off the chain. I'm such a better doctor because I have mental clarity. And I literally, for those who are watching, I had some work done on my hand, and I mentioned that before we got started. And so they put some stuff in my hand and I got to wear this for a day. and I took some ibuprofen, but man, it doesn't even matter. My mental clarity is off the chain. It's like I just feel fine. And I just want other people to feel fine, even when they have to have a procedure on their hand. I want you to feel good all the time. So when I'm done with this recording and I have to spend time with my father-in-law and my wife, I'm still being uplifted Tony. I'm being that guy that they expect, and if my sons call me while they're in school, I'm still present. So thank you for sharing so much of you with your comments, and I want to be a doctor for a moment and go to some things that I think about regularly. I'm a regional medical director, so I think about population health and health systems, and as you know, our health system is right in that vein. And I think about medicine costs. So I want to give a couple of numbers. I reflected, and you've given me permission to talk about some of your medicine that you were on.
Okay.
And think about. I want you to think about. What does it mean to not take insulin? But before you comment on that, glimepiride was one of the medicines I looked up. I went to GoodRx and looked at the cost, and it's $166 a month retail. Of course, these are retail numbers. And then you had an insulin pen that was $400 a month. And then there was a torvastatin on your profile. That's the cholesterol medicine, $127 a month. But you did have some generic strips, so you did save some money there, and that wasn't but $6 a month. So if you just think about the cost of that, it's ridiculous. But for you, what I'm curious about, you were shooting yourself up with insulin. What does that feel like to not have to take insulin, not have to stick yourself, and just the discomfort that comes with that, and the risk for low sugars that comes with that? How does it feel to not have to do that anymore?
Well, it's free. I don't feel like I'm a slave anymore to medications.
I
My
love it.
whole life is just wonderful now.
I love it.
It's just wonderful now. And
Freeing. Just thinking about it.
again, I want to thank you, Dr. Hampton. I probably thank you all night because you are my angel. Because I never had a doctor to explain to me in layman's terms how to reverse this thing. It's like I go into the doctor's office, they give me the big old whatever, all of this big old words and stuff, and I'm like, leave the room, and I'm still like, what did that mean? What am I supposed to do? Okay, let me go get this medication refilled. I guess this is going to be my cure, but no, you were the only doctor to break this thing down for me. And I am really appreciative of that. You made it so even a child could understand it.
One of the things that gave me the courage to write something when I wrote my Fix Your Diabetes book is that someone told me, a little birdie told me, just write like you're talking to somebody, right? And then I said, is that all I have to do? I don't have to sound like a doctor. That was like, that's the opposite of what you want to do. And that gave me a little writing freedom to be Tony, right? And then this ideal of simplicity, there's only so much our brain can handle. And even as we share messages of healing on the podcast, you just walk away with a couple of nuggets that make sense for you. That's what I tell people who are listening, right? But it's not complicated. Even if we go back to for those who are listening, we made a little video about what are the 3 or 4 things to do to reverse having to take insulin. And but ultimately, if I were to comment on that, I would say just reduce your carbs. Like there's a lot of things that you can say, all this low carb, high fat stuff. Listen, forget about the high fat. Reduce the carbs. If you do that, everything else will take care of itself. I don't count macronutrients, how much protein and fat and carbs. I don't really care. All I know is my carb consumption is low. Keep it simple. And the thing I would say to a clinician who is able to hear our voice today is if you don't talk about, earlier we talked about how metabolic disease is the real root cause of everything. And the only way to treat that is with lifestyle. So if that's true, that most of the medical conditions that we treat in our work is metabolic disease, hyperinsulinemia, is the diet, then if we don't spend time in a simple way explaining that to people, they will expect the medicine to be a cure for them. And it's not. So it would be on the verge of malpractice to not do that. Now, what we really need to do is continue to educate our clinicians who didn't learn nutrition. And we need to continue to create programs, weight management programs, and create resources like there's Food Smart, which is a app on the phone that our health system will be using. So it'll have a nutrition person people can talk to and interact with, and meal plans and a way to get their groceries list together, and it'll be consistent with what we want them to do. So we have to support people, and we have to refer them to behavioral health because maybe they got a processed food addiction and all these other things. Maybe they can't afford the food, and we got a food pantry and all those things. All this stuff has to be in place. But at the end of the day, we want to support people and keep it simple though. And we need to hear people. What's your need? Oh, you're in a difficult relationship. Let's get you into the therapist before we worry about counting carbs. I try to get them to do both, but you hear what I'm saying. You got to understand what the needs are. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. And
Yeah, it's
there's
good.
a lot of learning, right? So how are you gonna keep learning? A lot of people, walk away and they take this nugget or that nugget. But how are you continuing to learn so that as you figure out what the next cheesecake is going to look like that's keto, what do you do to keep on top of things?
Yeah, so I'm doing my research on different meals, keto meals, instead of being stuck with just one thing. I want to know, I want to know the different recipes and things of that nature, and also I'm gonna mention your book. Your book,
Yes.
man, those smoothies. Oh my God, yes, especially that green one.
Oh
Make me
yeah.
poop like a goose. I know that's
Uh-oh.
probably like a TMI, which is a good thing because I've been blocked, but
There
now
you
I'm
go.
not anymore.
Isn't that
You
crazy?
know,
So you're
so yeah.
doing a diet that some people associate with constipation, and it's just the opposite. So again, a lot of myths about what's going to happen if you make these changes. So it sounds like you've had a lot of
I
successes.
am
You're
regular.
regular, and thank you for that. You definitely got too much information on this podcast.
TMI.
So that's right. So what about failures? Anything that you would consider I kind of didn't do a good job at, or I'm still working on?
Um, hmm. Well, like in the beginning, of course, the cigarette smoking was
Hmm.
a hard issue.
How long did it take you to stop that after you started your journey?
You know what? It took me when I hit my head and learned what was going on with my brain. Everything stopped
Mm,
instant in that moment. I'm like, nope, that's it. And
mm,
it's funny to me that kidney failure, heart attacks, all of that didn't hit me with
mm,
this disease that I have. And thank you for stating that they're all the same disease.
mm-hmm,
Okay, so I didn't know that it could mess with my brain.
mm-hmm,
The brain, whoa, that got me there. And my children, when I told them what was going on in my head, oh my God, they had never been this concerned about mama.
mm,
They were calling every day because normally it's mama checking on them. They
mm-hmm.
was calling every day. They were so concerned, even on the phone, crying and yeah. So, whoo,
Yeah,
that smoking was the yeah. But
that's
yeah,
tough.
I did it. It was tough.
And so you overcame, and it was that. So everybody listening should think about what's that, you know really dive deep, peel the onion, and figure out why would you want to be healthy, why would you want to live longer, why would you want to have mental clarity. And sometimes it's the people that we love, we want to do it for them. Sometimes it's for us. sometimes it's because we want to live our purpose. I think my purpose is to educate people about metabolic health and teach this stuff. So think about that. And if you got to post that on your refrigerator to remind you, maybe you have a picture of a brain on your refrigerator. I don't know how you're doing it, Gwen. But losing your mind is not something that any of us want to see happen. So I really could imagine what that felt like. And the thing that's really interesting is that you see people, and I think people listening will understand this now. They're like 50 some, 60, and they're having cognitive decline. They're starting to have signs of dementia. And you're like, how could that be possible? And I think that what you've discovered is that age is just a number, is a real thing. It's like you can get it at a young age, and it's so scary. And man, I'm just happy we're not meeting like 20 years from now.
Exactly.
It would have been a completely different narrative. So happy that happened. What about, let's have a little fun and think about your favorite food from the past, and also what's become one of your favorite low carb foods of the present.
Okay. So my favorite food of the past, anything potato, but especially French fried potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Are
that
we talking about
was
the
my
kind you
favorite.
fried yourself, or you have a favorite restaurant?
That I fry myself, that I go to McDonald's, that I go anywhere.
It don't matter.
French fries, it don't matter. Doesn't matter. Okay, so and also cheeseburgers.
Mm-hmm.
But I do them now, the cheeseburgers, without any bread until I learn how to make me some keto bread. Then it's different. But yeah, so I no condiments. I just have the cheese and the burger with the vegetables on it, and yeah. So and the new thing is the cauliflower fries.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I did not know those. They kind of taste like fries.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter-in-law introduced me to them, and she put them in my air fryer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, whoa! I ate the whole bag, and my sugar didn't do nothing.
There
It
you
stayed like
go.
it was, and I got this thing in check now.
That's right.
And also the cauliflower rice.
Nice.
I did not know that. Oh my God!
I know, but it's just, I didn't know either. And
It is
now
delicious.
we just have cauliflower. It mimics so many things so well. And who'd have known? And I was definitely not a person eating cauliflower. Anybody listening who's like, I don't like cauliflower, me neither. When you make it, if you steam it and throw some salt and pepper on it and a little butter, that's not good to me. But if you hook it up and make it taste right and turn it into other things, then cauliflower is like a miracle replacer. But I also tell people, you already eat non-starchy food. And I know we ate a lot of greens growing up and string beans. So if you don't want to do all these creative things that we're talking about, you don't have to make a cauliflower crusted pizza. Just eat some greens and tell Jiffy you can't do it.
Oh, I had never liked Jiffy.
But there you go. And so I don't care whatever kind of cornbread you're used to. We're not doing that, because a tablespoon of cornmeal is equivalent to half a tablespoon of sugar. And I remind people of that so they'll understand why we push back on things like cornmeal, because it's really a highly processed grain. So we're going to write a book for you, and I want you to write a book to share your experiences. So if you were to write a book, what kind of book title would you give it?
It would be titled A Made Up Mind, How I Reverse My Diabetes.
I love it. You're going to have the courage to put reversed on your book. Are you sure you can do that? Yeah. And I remember when I wrote my book, Fix Your Diet, Fix Your Diabetes, that was one of the biggest things. I actually wanted to say cured. And the editor said, no, I just gotta find the middle ground. So I said, okay, we can say reverse. And I will say this out loud. It won't be reversed for long if you go back to that old diet, right? So as long as you maintain a diet where you don't eat too much of the carb group, you'll be okay. And again, it's not no carb, it's just low carb, because all fruits and vegetables are carbs. So I had a chance to interview Maria Emmerich, and she's a chef, and hopefully we'll be doing some work with that's YUR TV network, which is led by Charles Maddox, and I'm hoping to do some work with those guys too, along with Dr. Kim Berry and others. And what's cool about her is that she not only gives us great recipes to consider, but she also is doing some work with Halle Berry. And I actually was inspired to see Halle Berry's new movie. So me and my wife saw Bruised, where she had a chance to show her fighting skills, which was actually pretty good. And it was her directorial debut. So another fun question. So give me your top 3 movies. What would be your top 3 movies of all time?
My top 3 movies of all time. Number 1 would be Claudine. Number 2, Coolie High.
Old school.
And
Love it.
number 3, Fatal Attraction.
You know what?
Which I'm gonna be if you try not to be my doctor no more.
You know what? You don't have to worry. I don't want to be on. I don't want to be in the movie. But and interesting, they're all kind of different, and they're all movies I've seen and all I have enjoyed. And Fatal Attraction was classic. And Coolie High may have been one of the first movies that I cried at.
Mine too.
Yeah, it may be the first movie. I wasn't a big, I didn't cry a lot at movies, but I think that hit home for all of us. It reminds me of Good Times and how, things are going okay, and then it just never quite get over the hump, and then it's like, whew. So anyway, thank you for those. I just wanted to ask that fun question, and I think that's awesome. So now, let's kind of wrap up with 2 things. One is any question, any thought that comes to your mind that you wish I had brought up, anything that you wanted to share with the listeners to help them understand that this is possible. Because I'm still shocked. In fact, I think we recently learned of something. Before you even answer this, I think it's important we share this. Your labs. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I know what's the highest hemoglobin A1C you recall having?
13.
And that's a big number, guys. The highest I've seen in my career is probably 16, just to put it in perspective. Normal is 5.6 or less. So I think when I saw you, you had labs maybe 3 months ago, and you had already started your journey, and you got it down from that high number down to 7.2. But then you had a recent lab. So
yes.
We got to do a shout out to that lab. Shout out to all the people that work in the lab. Our colleagues, right?
Yes.
So share with the audience what kind of result you got at your literally a few days ago.
A few days ago, I get a message in my email stating that your results are ready. So I go to the LiveWell app, and the first one, I didn't look at everybody else. I looked at the other ones that was down below, the one I want to know about. So I went to the one that I want to see, and it was 5.8. And I was afraid, Dr. Hampton, because it had that red little mark.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, before I opened it up, I'm like,
that's right.
Man, it's still messed up.
That's right.
And then when I opened it up and I seen 5.8, I could have hit the floor.
Oh my God. And for those listening, and many of you already know, but borderline diabetes is 5.7 to 6.4. Diabetes starts at 6.5. So we're not even in the diabetes territory. We're in the borderline. And guess what? I'd be willing to bet some serious money that when you get your next one, it won't be 5.8. It'll be less than 5.6. That's right. So I just think, and this is what's really important to emphasize. She did not control, get that number down any way you want to articulate it with medicine. This was all getting off of insulin, having been on insulin for 11 years, being told by others that you'll never be off of insulin, and you were able to get the number not only under control, but it's almost normal now. So now you can truly not have to worry about hypoglycemias anymore, not have to worry about sticking yourself anymore, not have to worry about kidney failure anymore, not have to worry about amputations anymore, not have to worry about blindness anymore, not have to worry about a heart attack and stroke, and of course not have to worry about cognitive decline, which can lead to dementia. So just imagine what a lifestyle change can do. And let me say something, I'm not being disrespectful, Gwen. Gwen ain't that special.
Gwen ain't.
She just a normal person who got tired. She got
tired.
tired. All this education still can't talk. She got tired of being sick. And if you're a clinician and you want this to be a normal experience in your clinic, I literally, the week that we met, that week and a week before, I could have tweeted 2 or 3 things every day about success stories, maybe even more. If I had done it, they thought I was making it up. But this is what's possible. And you simply heard a simple message, got some additional information that was the thing that pushed you over, and here we are. So when you told me, we were interacting and you told me what your number was, I was the one that was about to cry.
Right.
If you recall.
I think you did a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but when you get that on video. We're going to keep that on the down low. I got some brothers and sisters, I got a reputation in these streets. So, but I really appreciate you. And that's what, and that's why I talk to clinicians too, because I want them to feel that. I want them to cry tears of joy and feel like they are serving their purpose. We came into this profession to heal. That's what you did. That's what I did. So I feel honored to be in that position. So now, let me say this. So let's think about that nest and rope. Okay. Let's think about the nutrition, exercise, less stress, more sleep, how we think of recovering from trauma and having healthy relationships, avoiding organisms and pollutants that harm us, and making sure our emotions are okay and our life experiences serve us. So when you think about that acronym and all of its meaning, where do you think you're going to put focus over the next 12 months for yourself?
Definitely, it would be nutrition, exercise, and of course, my emotional health.
I love it. And the good news is you're already getting a little expert at it. And you're really inspiring people with your words, your story. And and I literally was like, I saw you and I was like, for some reason, your success story stood out because particularly when you think about how quick you can get off of insulin. A lot of people, I don't think they believe me when I tell them this is something that happens regularly. Imagine spending, I've been doing this for 28 years. So imagine spending.
You look 28.
Well, I use Noxzema. It works pretty good.
Oh, you old school for real.
Right. You better, maybe even some Vaseline, whatever, right? If you think about 28 years, you're too funny. 28 years, right? 20 of them, for the most part, we're not really in the low carb space, right? So that last 8 years is when the magic started to happen. And once I figured out that I could help people with this, it's been wonderful. And you can't unlearn it, right? You can't unlearn. Like if you think about rice, pasta, and you can't. Rice, pasta, and potatoes, 30 to 40 carbs per serving. So that's, 8 to 10 teaspoons of sugar. You can't unlearn that. So who puts 8 to 10 teaspoons of sugar? So once you know these things, then you say, well, what do I eat, doc? And then we share all the other gifts that are on the planet that we can eat. So I appreciate you. I like that you're going to kind of balance things. You're not focusing on one thing. You're going to do a lot of things. And I think we're going to really see wonderful things from you. So, yeah.
I have one more thing I want to share.
Go ahead and share it.
I got a song to sing.
Go
My
ahead
sister
now.
called me the one line wonder.
Okay.
And it goes a little something like this.
Go ahead.
My mind is made up. Ain't no turning back. My mind is made up. That's my song.
I love it. And it sounds like it kind of goes with the book. So when we get your book one day, we're going to make sure we can scan it and get that little audio on our cell phones to go with it. So thank you for this. May be the first song I've had on the podcast. So thank you so much. And I'm sure my listeners will appreciate that. And I'm so happy your mind is made up. I really feel it's a gift for me to have the privilege of being your doctor. And I really honor that. I thank the people who kind of got us connected. And I remember when we first met and I'm just going to get a vaccine. And next thing you know, you're like grabbing me saying, hey, I've been trying to see you.
Trying to see you for 2 years.
I know that's right. So we made it happen. We're good. And again, as we wrap up, I thank you for being here today. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hampton. I love you.
Thank you. I love you back, and thank you for everything. And guys, Gwen has really been inspirational, and her story is one that we need to share. The story that, yes, if you're on a similar journey, you're dealing with medicine and you're looking for a path out, you now have someone in front of you who has convinced you that this is the possible transformation you can have with changes in lifestyle. Before today, you may have thought it wasn't possible for you, your friends, your family to, get off insulin or other medicines. But now you have convincing advice that that's a possibility. So I want you to join clinicians like myself and Gwen, and we're going to shout from the rooftops. Yes, we can.
Yes, we
yes,
can.
we can. Yes, we can. That's right. That's 5.8. We're going to celebrate that. So if you know anybody who needs to hear this healing message, make sure to share this episode with them. And just know that we're here to support you, and we really appreciate you. And as Gwen has eloquently said, we also love you. So as we wrap up this episode, I will say again that I want each and every one of you to be safe, be well, and to continue to protect your nest. And Gwen, thank you so much again for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.